Our main speaker this morning is a woman whose entire life is characterized by achievement, taste, talent, and compassion. Since 1956, Clara Hieronymus has been the drama critic for the Tennessean, the major newspaper in the central southern United States. In that position, her distinguished contributions have been recognized many times. She is a founding member and currently serves as chair of the American Theater Critics Association, a group now conducting its annual meeting in Providence. Described as one of the top 10 women critics in American theater today, she is the foremost Southern critic of our times. Her cogent criticisms have enriched the Southern theater, while her administrative talents have nurtured the Theater Critics Association into becoming one of the most important such organizations in the nation. Mrs. Hieronymus was graduated from the University of Tulsa at the age of 18. She has been employed as a freelance writer and as a radio and newspaper book reviewer. Her compassion is demonstrated by her selection as the 10th recipient of Fisk University's Humanitarian Award, an award which has been given only 10 times since 1865. She has been designated an honorary member of the Tennessee Legislature, and in 1982, Mayor Fulton of Nashville declared June 6th as Clara Hieronymus Day. In 1982, New York theater goers were treated to an article about her career in the April edition of Playbill. In addition to many other awards and accomplishments, she co-authored the only book about William Faulkner's only play, Requiem for a Nun. It is an honor to present to this commencement Mrs. Clara Booth Hieronymus. Mrs. Hieronymus.
Good morning. We have an expression in Tennessee that we use without thinking about how we got it or where it came from. We know what we mean when we say it, and that's good enough for us. When someone has done something especially nice for us, we may say, "Thank you in the highest." Now, for letting me come today to share the important occasion of graduation, I say to you, thank you in the highest. It's exciting to me to be here for a number of reasons. Not only because I've always been interested in students, but because your invitation to me bespeaks a certain nervy courage or brashness on your part. You have asked a critic and a Southerner, and you must have known that in so doing, you were going to hear a lot about theater and maybe a bunch of Southernisms. I'm not going to review you, though I have been known to review audiences in the theater. And it's not often that a critic gets to be on this side of the stage, and it gives me a turn to think that you may be reviewing me. And if not, you're missing a golden opportunity to review a critic. There's a certain phenomenon that we see in the theater these days. I'm sure you've observed it. It's mindless. It's that automatic standing ovation. The curtain comes down, the audience goes up. It doesn't seem to make any difference to the theater goers that they have been insulted by a shoddy performance and maybe a downright dog show. It's as if the ticket buyer had pledged in blood when he paid his money, and it takes a lot of money to buy a ticket these days, that when the curtain came down, he would stand up and give an ovation. He does that for the privilege of parting with his money. Now, I have been thinking for 2 months about what I might say to you today that would be appropriate. It has been a little while since I participated in my own graduate commencement exercises, but what I remember most vividly about that lovely afternoon was that I wished that man would get on with his earnestly well-wished, well-meant remarks, because I had more interesting things ahead of me. I think that having been a theater critic for more than a quarter of a century, that the most telling kind of comment I might make to you today would be to urge you to approach your world, your life, in the same spirit in which the theater critic goes to the theater. There are different opinions, of course, about critics. I hope you have read the works of a lovely Southern writer, Eudora Welty, who quotes an English writer, Virginia Woolf, about what a critic does. She says that a critic is a person who has done his work as a good housemaid does hers. She tidies up after the party is over. To put it a bit more philosophically, the critic goes to the theater keeping in mind that his obligation is to try to distinguish between true art and false art, to try to hold the art of theater to its own highest standards. He has to go with some kind of courage about his point of view, because it's going to be printed in the paper willy-nilly under his byline. His obligation then is to treat honest effort with respect, to get the news about his subject, and to treat actors and others in a civil way. Now, it won't be necessary, will it, for me to belabor the point that I am making the critic-theater relationship an analogy for your relationship to your life or to the world. What I'm saying is, like the critic, you have to bring to your job in the theater or in life some basic integrity, enthusiasm, and a modicum of good sense and wit. If you do that and have some professional attitudes, and I'm thinking in terms of honed skills, you will be able to interpret to others what you have seen in such a way that they will know the experience illumines all of human experience. Have you ever read a review and thought, boy, that's wonderful, because that critic saw the play as you did? Or you may have raged at what that nitwit has written because it was not the way you saw the play. Well, I wonder, by the same token, whether in reading a review you might have realized that you were reading a whole lot more about the critic than about the play he's writing about or the people who were in it. You will know if he's a dumbbell, or whether he is honest, or whether he has brought anything with him to the theater. So, the critic and the theater, a metaphor or an analogy for you. What you bring to the theater, to your world, determines how you perceive what is being played out before you, and how it affects your responses. We're seldom subject to instantaneous bolts of insight, to massive revelations. It's only in the sense of what equipment we bring to the viewing that we either understand it or can communicate it to others. Now, I've been taking groups of people to New York to see shows for 28 years, and it is a wonderful experience, and sometimes an aggravating and frustrating one. There was a Broadway play a few seasons ago called That Championship Season. I loved it. It's a play that involves a group of men and their coach who have been getting together every year for a reunion at their coach's home. Now, these men were members of a high school championship basketball season. And so each year they come together and they relive that one shining moment of invincibility. And all that they have to bind them is the fact that once they were together. But what they are going to reveal to us in the play is their common loss. These are men going into middle age with a sudden sense of terror and defeat. They are desperately holding on to their youth, and the only thing then that binds them is what I spoke of, the memory of when they really were together in that championship season. The play then is a rite of passage. Every man is searching for something, a truth, a principle, a sustaining reason. They are profane. As the drinks flow, the language gets rougher and more profane, but also more intensely revealing of themselves. They aren't very nice people, but by the end of the play, you care deeply for each of them. I thought it a marvelous evening of theater, stunningly performed, and it left me greatly moved. I still remember two actors, Walter McGinn and Michael McGuire, playing the two brothers, Tom and James Daly. Tom was an alcoholic. James had always looked after him and had given up his own ambitions to attend to his weaker brother. And ultimately there comes a beautiful, truth-revealing, throwaway line from Tom that opens up much of what the play means to us. He says, "Welcome to anonymity. No depth, no bench. We're all playing with too many injuries." He speaks here to us of frail human beings everywhere, unconsciously playing with too many injuries and needing the sustaining force of the love of other people. The play's genius is that it is therapeutic, revealing, and that it adds to our understanding and empathy with fellow souls. Now, I summarized in that detail since the play was on Broadway 12 years ago, which means that that's too far back for all of you to have seen it. And because I'm making a point about your role as critic having to hinge on the knowledge and perception you bring to the viewing. When I came out of the theater that evening, my tour group was milling around on the sidewalk, and a young woman came up to me rather timidly and asked me how I chose the plays. Did I always see them before I booked them for the tour group? No, not always, but in this case, yes, I had. She then turned and rejoined her parents. At that point, her father tackled me, not timidly as she had, but with eyes popping in anger and face purple with indignant outrage. "I want you to know," he said, "I don't appreciate your subjecting our women to that kind of trash." Well, this critic responded to that critic by saying, in her sweetest Southern way, "Oh, sir, we were every one of us privileged to have been in that theater tonight. As for me, I feel as if I had just taken communion." Now, I'm saying all of that because that's what I mean when I say to you that how you view what you see and what you experience, how you react and respond, will reveal to you and to others what your heart and mind are like and how you view your fellow man. You know, it occurred to me that over these years, I felt sorry for that man because I thought that he was reacting so vehemently because he had missed the point of that show. It wasn't until I was putting the notes together for this talk that I thought, "Ah, you dumbbell." It dawned on me why he reacted that way. Far from missing the point, he reacted because he did get the point. He recognized himself, and he did not like what he saw. And he knew that he stood revealed in that light, naked and mean of spirit. Now, if you carry away with you today anything of what that lady from Tennessee said to you on your graduation day, I hope it will be this, that what you bring to the theater, to life, and to the world, in knowledge, sympathy, openness, generosity of spirit, eagerness, and receptivity will make it a wonderful experience or a despairing one. To have a fair exchange and get something back, you have got to take something to it. I'll leave you with my own vision of theater, and you may equate the terms with living and seeing with the interior eyes as well as with the exterior hair. The words are Shakespeare's, of course, and he wrote them about Cleopatra, that marvelous creature who fits our own time as easily as she did Caesar's. Here are the words: "Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. Other women cloy the appetites they feed, but she makes hungry where most she satisfies." Happy appetite, eager theater goers. I wish you many happy curtain times.
At the age of 15, when I left New England to go to high school in Memphis, I learned to say sir and ma'am. So thank you, ma'am. And I also learned to say, y'all come. And ma'am, y'all come back to Rhode Island whenever you can. I hope the next time you come it will be to review one of our marvelous theater productions here at Rhode Island College. As I have often said, we may not be Division I in basketball, Father Peterson, but we are Division I in the arts. And we are delighted, Ms. Hieronymus, for bringing to us that message, that metaphor, that analogy. I can assure you, having worked with this class of 1984 for more years than either they or I care to remember, they are indeed good critics.